Hi everyone. So a funny thing happened to me the other day. I got a message from the representative from the Miya Arts company in China. They had seen my gouache review video and they asked me if I wanted to review their watercolor travel set. So of course I said yes, of course, because I really like that gouache set. I've been using it so much. And so a few days later this package arrived, and so let's open it and see what's inside and what we have, and swatch and paint and all of that. So one thing that this company does extremely well is packaging, and I have to say that at first glance this is beautiful. Well, they let me choose the color. I picked green. It has a little bird on it, and yeah, the box is really pretty. Oh, there is a color chart on the back, but of course it's all in Chinese. Okay, so let's open this. Okay, so in the box we have the tin for the set. It has a little handle, as you can see. Let's put that aside. There's a water brush that comes with it. Well, I guess it's a water brush. I don't personally I don't really like water brushes because they keep just leaking water through the bristles all the time, and it's really bad for water control, but they are handy. And I think, is there anything underneath? Nope, everything is in here. Okay, it's a very nice box. Okay, so let's see. That handle is nice and it helps pull the top off. So this end can be used as a water cup, or you can just plop your brush in it. There's an envelope with some sample paper. Oh, this is cute. It's very rough. Maybe I'll do a mini painting on it, but it's nice. It fits right in the box. And the set itself, I have to say, they are very, very good at aesthetics. The bird is there, so when we open this we have the colors, and on the bottom there's also another tray that opens. That's kind of a weird choice, I have to say, but so we have mixing areas. They feel sort of matte and velvety to the touch, not super glossy. Maybe that will help prevent the paint from beading up. So here we have the 18 colors, and they aren't named. They're not named, and of course, as with the gouache set, there is no pigment or light fastness information. However, I did some research beforehand on Amazon where they sell these, and the reviews were pretty good, so I'm looking forward to trying these out. So I'll grab my watercolor paper and make some swatches, also some water and brushes and things like that. Okay, so before starting swatching, let's take a look at the colors that we have. So first I can see we've got a white and a black, which is not ideal, but white and black do have their place if you want to use them. We've got warm yellow, cool yellow, yellow ochre, a sort of vermilion, medium red, a magenta. We've got warm and cool blues, some greens, some browns. We'll see them better when we swatch. So I'm using my own supply. I'm not using the water brush for swatching, but I am using I'm using my own sketchbook as well, because the paper that came with it is way too small, and this is not cotton paper. This is just sketchbook paper. I reckon that for a travel set, the most common use is with sketchbooks and things like that, which is also why the light fastness might not matter so much. And most watercolor sketchbooks are not cotton paper, so this would give us a good idea of the usage. Also, I put a black line across the swatches so we can check how opaque or transparent the colors are. So let's get to it, let's watch. Okay, so they're all swatched. Let's let the swatches dry and check what the colors are like afterwards. Okay, so now that the swatches are dry, let's take a look. So most of the colors seem pretty transparent. The yellow ochre is a little bit opaque. Mostly that. The white is pretty transparent. So they seem fairly transparent overall. Now the color selection was pretty good, I think. So we've got cool yellow, warm yellow, and we've got the cool blue and warm blue, and medium warmish red and cool red. What I thought was a magenta is more of an opera color. And nice greens, I like this one, although I don't know what I would use it for. And of course we've got our earth colors, like a burnt sienna color, burnt umber. Now what surprises me here is that you can see granulation both on this ultramarine color and the black, and a little bit in the burnt sienna as well. And that is not something that you can usually see in cheaper watercolor sets, so that's a nice surprise, which shows that they're probably using proper pigments. Now some of these colors flowed pretty well. You can see that the purple just filled up the whole swatch. Some of them were a bit less wild, such as here and this one, but overall the flow is pretty good. They also re-wet really easily. I was super surprised that it didn't take much to get them going. Again, an exception might be this ultramarine one, which took a little bit of work. Overall, I'm pretty pleased with how these swatches felt. They are a bit blotchy. I blame that mostly on the paper, since it's cellulose and not cotton, and that tends to do that. But overall, yeah, so I guess it's time to try them out in a real painting. So, yep, let's do this. So I am using Fabriano Artistico hot press paper for this. It's not my favorite. I think it stains a little bit too easily, color sinks into it, but it has a nice texture and was the right size for what I wanted to do. Also, I am already familiar with what it does with different paints, which allows me to compare. The reference photo I'm using is of Lanju, the bassist of the VK band Gulu. It's very pink and purple, so I didn't use all of the colors available to me in this palette. I mostly used the opera, the purple, some of the indigo-like color, some burnt umber, and phthalo blue. I really wish they had labeled the colors. It would have made this so much easier. One thing that I liked about these paints was that they layer really easily. I don't do much lifting when I work usually, and they stayed put on the paper similarly to the Holbein watercolors I have. Perhaps this was aided by the paper, since it does tend to grab the color, but if you compare them to, let's say, gansai, like Kuretake Gansai Tambi, you can definitely tell these are traditional watercolors and they're meant for working in layers. One thing I did have trouble with, although it's not the fault of the paints themselves, is that the color selection is different from the one I usually use with my Holbein paints. However, if you haven't made your own palette, or are a beginner, or just like the convenience of having the colors picked for you, this is definitely a nice selection. You have all the basics, plus a couple of nice to have colors. As I have said earlier, the paints re-wet very easily. I put a drop of water on each little cake before painting, but I didn't have to wait long at all for the paint to dissolve and lift into the brush really easily. They feel a bit creamy when picked up and are pretty concentrated. I had to dilute some quite a bit to be able to do the lighter first layers. I think you're getting a decent amount of pigment with this set. Now, compared with the Holbein watercolors, these seem to flow a bit more. Holbein paints stay put, but these are a little bit more lively. They're not so wild though as to flow all over. It feels like a nice medium amount, just about right if you want a little bit more of the randomness that comes with watercolors usually, and you're not a hopeless control freak like me. I have to say, I always need a little bit of faith when painting, because when you start, or rather when I start, I always have this stage where things just look horrible and I'm not sure I'm going in the right direction and maybe I should scrap things and start over. But then I push through and I don't hate the end result. The same thing happened here. At this point I was just pushing through, reminding myself there was quite a bit of painting to go, and if in the end it didn't work out, I could always do another painting. I didn't actually use the mixing areas that came with the palette. I kind of forgot, because I usually just prefer using a ceramic plate for that. Mine is from Daiso, it's just a long rectangular plate. If you do have this set and have used the mixing areas, do leave a comment below saying whether the matte finish prevents the paint from beating up, please. That would be super of you. So again, I used quite a few layers here and the paint let me do that really easily. I don't have much more to say about them. Okay, so to recap, this is an all-around great palette, especially for beginners since it's so cheap. I think it's about $10 on Amazon. It has a decent selection of colors without being overwhelming. I think the white and the black are perhaps superfluous for beginners. I would have liked to see maybe one more earth tone and maybe a Payne's Grey, something like that. But then Payne's Grey is my usual go-to neutral-ish dark. The packaging is really nice. You can use the outer box as a water container when painting, and it protects the set quite nicely when traveling. I wouldn't recommend just carrying the palette itself because of the bottom flap folding backwards, as you might have seen earlier. The flaps don't lock shut either, so you do need that outer box. Unlike their gouache set, this has white mixing areas, which is much better if you like using them. The cakes are extruded, not poured, and they re-wet really easily. The colors are not labeled and there's no pigment or light fastness information. This would make quite a nice gift for someone actually. Like, Christmas has just passed, but there are always birthdays and it's cheap enough for a just because gift as well. It's beautiful and the paints are actually nice. I didn't feel any chalkiness to them. They're very transparent and smooth. So that's about it. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you to the Miya Arts company for sending me this set to try out for this review. I was pleasantly surprised by these paints and will probably use them again. If you liked this video or found it helpful, please give it a thumbs up, and for more content like this, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you'd like to be notified of new videos. Links to my social media as well as to my Patreon are in the description box below. Thanks again, take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!